Well, now it's official. The United States is preparing to annex Greenland, despite objections from Europeans. A bill has been introduced in the United States Congress to annex Greenland and grant it statehood. The bill provides for more than just turning the island into a territory like Puerto Rico or Guam. It aims to grant Greenland full statehood similar to Alaska. And it's worth adding that this happened at exactly the same time as the Republicans submitted this bill to Congress. The White House spokesperson officially stated that Trump wants to buy Greenland from the Europeans. Otherwise, the United States Army will have to take the island by force. Donald Trump himself stated that even if the American takeover of Greenland leads to the collapse of NATO, he is ready for it, because supposedly he is the one who saved the North Atlantic Alliance. But if NATO does not see any threats to Greenland from Russia and China, he will not regret it if NATO actually collapses. However, experts are considering another option. The scheme for acquiring Greenland could look as follows. Greenland declares independence from Denmark and signs a free association pact with the United States. And that's what we're going to discuss in this episode. Let's take a look together and break everything down. My name is Alexei Peci. Let's discuss this topic together, but before we start, I want to ask you something. If you find this episode interesting and useful, you can support the work of this YouTube channel with your donation or a paid sponsorship subscription through the links and details provided. In the description of this video, it says support Alexei Peci's channel. Choose any format that's convenient for you. I'll be grateful for any support you give, but please do this at the end of this episode. Also, subscribe to my Telegram channel, Peci News. The link to it is in the description of this video. So, Republican Congressman Randy Fain has introduced a bill in the United States Congress to annex Greenland and grant it statehood. Fain, whom Trump supported even before he got a seat in Congress last year, he stated that the security interests of the United States in the Arctic have made the annexation of this territory absolutely essential. But let me clarify right away for understanding. Randy Fain is what you would call a Make America Great Again fighter. Nevertheless, today he states, and I quote, "Greenland is not a remote outpost that we can ignore. It is a vital national security resource. Whoever controls Greenland controls the key Arctic shipping routes and the security architecture that protects the United States. America cannot leave this future in the hands of regimes that despise our values and seek to undermine our security." So, the bill authorizes Donald Trump to take steps to acquire Greenland, including negotiations with Denmark. It also stipulates that the Trump administration must report to Congress on any necessary measures to expedite congressional approval of this arrangement. The bill envisions something more than just turning the island into a territory like Puerto Rico or Guam. It aims to grant Greenland the status of a state similar to Alaska, the only state bordering the Arctic Circle. The main argument of all Republicans is that if the United States doesn't take over Greenland, then the Russians or the Chinese will. And now, in Russia, they've started fueling tensions between Americans and Europeans. Today, Russia's main drunkard, Dmytro Medvedev. This little guy, then, appeared in public and advised Trump to hurry up and acquire Greenland before the Russians take over that island too. He says that, there might be an unexpected referendum there and the Greenlanders might suddenly vote to join Russia, and then, he says, that'll be it. So for the Americans, well, this is an obvious attempt to create even more division between the Europeans and the Americans. But still, I just couldn't ignore this statement from Russia's chief alcoholic. And against this backdrop, White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt said today, quote, "Trump wants the United States to acquire Greenland, because otherwise it will be acquired or possibly even seized by China or Russia, which is not good for the United States, for Europe, or for Greenland itself." Although it's unclear how the White House envisions a scenario in which Europeans would be willing to give this island to the Russians, European leaders, of course, spoke out against Trump's recent statements regarding his plans to seize Greenland. And Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen warned that the seizure of the island by the United States would mark the end of the North Atlantic Alliance. They say this is exactly what the Russians want. And here Trump himself voiced an interesting idea, although interesting should probably be put in quotation marks. Trump firmly stated, and I quote, when Trump was asked, "Listen, are you okay if this compromises NATO, if NATO effectively ceases to exist after you seize Greenland?" To this, Trump replied, and I quote, "I am the one who saved NATO. I am the one who raised their spending to 5% of gross domestic product. Yay! Maybe NATO will be disappointed. If I do this, we would save a lot of money. But I like NATO. I'm just trying to figure out if NATO would be with us if we needed it. I'm not sure we spend a lot of money on NATO. I'm not sure they would be with us. Greenland doesn't want Russia and China to take it over. And Greenland's defense is basically 2 dog sleds. You know what their defense is? 2 dog sleds. If it affects NATO, it affects NATO, but they need us much more than we need them. I'll tell you, and you know. I'm afraid this episode should be interpreted as Trump not caring if NATO ceases to exist as a result of United States actions in Greenland. Because according to Trump's logic, Americans don't really need NATO. It's the Europeans who need it. So Europe should just tolerate the takeover of Greenland and then everything will be fine. But if they don't, then let NATO just fall apart. That's Trump's logic regarding dog sleds. It's true, yes, really. Dog sleds are involved in the defense of Greenland. Europeans generally oppose all of Trump's logic. European Commissioner for Defense Andrius Kubilius stated that the European Union needs a unified army of 100,000 soldiers that could replace American troops in Europe. In fact, this is the idea that Emmanuel Macron has been proclaiming since 2017, and yes, I won't get tired of repeating it. Since 2017, Emmanuel Macron has advocated for Europe's strategic autonomy, including militarily. That it's long overdue to create our own army, our own troops, our own weapons, and so on, to avoid dependence on the Americans, Chinese, and especially the Russians. It's not just about Greenland. The issue is much broader. Trump is basically not interested in maintaining the current NATO defense system, and that's not just my opinion. Kubilius, the European Commissioner for Defense of the European Union, says this clearly. As for Greenland itself, I still believe that the United States will not go down the path of direct annexation. The bill in Congress is probably just public relations. Here I see 2 scenarios. First, Donald Trump will make Europe spend insane amounts of money on the defense of Greenland, essentially to cover the United States. And then Trump will be able to tell Americans again that he saved them billions of dollars. Well, Trump likes this point because even when he was asked about Greenland, he brought it up again, that Joe Biden spent $350 billion on Ukraine. But he didn't spend a penny, and the electorate, Donald Trump, will appreciate that. And actually, the Europeans themselves are now trying to implement exactly this scenario. They are ready to send troops, ships, and aircraft to protect Greenland. As long as Trump doesn't seize this territory. For Trump, in principle, this is also a victory. He can sell this victory to the American people, and he will definitely like that. And the second scenario is a referendum on Greenland's independence, followed by a free association pact with the United States. And Trump is already promising money to the people of Greenland for voting the right way. What is this about? Let me explain everything right now. Back at the beginning of last year, Trump and his team were considering the idea of a hybrid takeover of Greenland, or a hybrid annexation of Greenland. Greenland in general is a deeply rooted ambition of Donald Trump, not just some fleeting fantasy. He discussed this during his first presidential term. Trump considers Greenland to be the underbelly of the United States of America and sees the truly increased influence of China and Russia in this region, plus he sees a real chance to buy this island. Donald Trump, if you don't know, greatly admires the 25th President of the United States, William McKinley, who ruled at the turn of the 19th and 20th centuries. It was McKinley who made it so that the United States of America gained control over overseas territories such as Puerto Rico and Hawaii. And now Trump has come up with the idea of a dramatic expansion of the United States of America. He keeps repeating that McKinley was the greatest president who annexed new territories, and now Trump has decided to put this into action. Early last year, White House officials said this was necessary to avoid a real war. The plan for acquiring Greenland might look as follows. Greenland declares independence from Denmark and signs a compact of free association with the United States of America. At this point, I should note that the Compact of Free Association has been signed by America with 3 microstates in the ocean: Micronesia, the Marshall Islands, and Palau. What does this mean de jure? Legally, these designated territories are independent and retain internal self-government, but their defense is entirely and completely managed by the United States military. The economy of the islands is also deeply integrated into the United States economy. The pact, last renewed in 2023, will remain in effect until 2043, since it renews every 20 years. So, in fact, these are kind of independent territories, but defense is completely handled by the Americans, the economy depends on the Americans, and now Trump could actually try to bribe the people of Greenland so that they first vote for independence from Denmark and then move under United States protectorate through the Compact of Free Association. Well, fortunately for Trump, he doesn't need to bribe that many people. The official population of Greenland is 57,000 people. And only after some time, if this scenario plays out, an independent Greenland with a Compact of Free Association will be able to join the United States of America, for example, as the 51st state. Not immediately, but over time. Here, I'll just remind you of one important historical episode. The United States of America bought Alaska from Russia back in 1867. But did you know that for almost 100 years Alaska was not considered a state of the United States of America, and for almost 50 years it wasn't even considered a territory of the United States? Alaska became the 49th state of the United States of America only in 1959, and before that it was just a territory under the administration and protection of the United States. Greenland might face exactly the same fate. And I'm sure that after some time, Micronesia, the Marshall Islands, and Palau will also become states of the United States of America. I'll leave it at that, friends. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like it, friends. Let me remind you once again, if you want to support the work of this YouTube channel, you can do so by donating through the links and details in the description of this video. That's all for now. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye, everyone.